Greetings, welcome back to Black Bear News, where we're discussing climate change, above climate change, and things adjacent. And man, I really hate when I miss something that I wanted to talk about in the day's previous video. Completely skipped over it. I was talking about some political things yesterday, but I don't know if anybody saw all this that went down with Hillary Clinton calling Tulsi Gabbard a Russian operative, or said the Russians were grooming Tulsi as a third-party candidate, smeared her big time, and Tulsi hit back pretty hard. Hillary Clinton is not only just a horrible, corrupt person, but she is also a coward. She didn't even mention her name, right? She just said, somebody's being groomed by the Russians. So she did that thing that people call subtweeting or vague booking, which means that you talk about somebody without mentioning their name, but everybody knows who you're talking about, and it's extremely cowardly. And one of the shittiest things you can do to somebody is just like, it's something that stupid people do, stupid cowardly people do. So yeah, Hillary Clinton is a stupid, cowardly person who lost and should just go home and shut it. She also called Jill Stein a Russian asset. This is just not a good look for her, and she's going to end up getting the worst of this. And this is going to end up, it's funny because Tim Black, if anybody's familiar with Tim Black, progressive news channel on YouTube, so rightly pointed out that in the last debate, Tulsi Gabbard said, I look out at the people of the United States and I don't see deplorables, I see Americans. So she basically called out Hillary Clinton, and this happened like the day after the debates or 2 days after the debates. So Clinton came out of the whatever rock she was hiding under and had to go out and try and smear Tulsi Gabbard. The really messed up thing is that this kind of stupid stuff is effective. And I saw, the next day on my Facebook feed, I saw people talking about, oh yeah, of course, Tulsi's a Russian agent. Oh yeah, if the nesting doll fits, or, like people are just so politically unsavvy that they see this stuff on CNN and they're like, oh yeah, it must be true because Hillary Clinton said it. So I had to jump in the conversation and go, nope, no, you don't. And I just, whatever. I just say my piece for Tulsi Gabbard. But Tulsi Gabbard, hold on. I'm going to see if I can find the tweets that she tweeted because it's pretty amazing. And this is what she said, which is pretty amazing. She said, great. Thank you, Hillary Clinton. You, the queen of warmongers, embodiment of corruption and personification of the rot that has sickened the Democratic Party for so long, have finally come out from behind the curtain. From the day I announced my candidacy, there has been a concerted campaign to destroy my reputation. We wondered who was behind it and why. Now we know. It was always you, through your proxies and powerful allies in the corporate media and war machine, afraid of the threat that I pose. It's now clear that this primary is between you and me. Don't cowardly hide behind your proxies. Join the race directly. Called her out. And that was pretty amazing. Anyways, that's all I'm going to say about this situation. Go Tulsi Gabbard. So we have to talk about nationalizing and shutting down corporations that are killing the planet. When we talk about a Green New Deal or when we talk about fighting climate change. If we're going to really tackle the behemoth of capitalism, global capitalism, we need to deglobalize economies. We basically need to reverse everything that we've been doing over the last 70 or 100 years. The quickest way to do that is to nationalize businesses and shut them down. I've talked about this before. If we were really serious about fighting climate change, we would localize all of our economies, and that would mean we would have to shut down multinational corporations that, do their business across lines and overseas and in the air and all that stuff. We'd have to basically shut down multinational corporations. This is crazy commie talk that will never be allowed on the national stage. But hey, we were talking about things politically that weren't even in the national dialogue a few years ago, right? Free college, Medicare for all. Just before 2016, nobody was talking about this stuff. Or if they were, it was very fringy. Now, we have this momentum, progressive momentum. We're also talking about ending regime change wars, courtesy of Tulsi Gabbard. Right now, that's a national kind of news item that people really don't want to talk about, but we're talking about it anyways. I hope some writers and pundits at Truth Out and other outlets can start to bring this subject up as a way to save the planet. So this needs to be talked about when we talk about degrowth, compassionate degrowth. We need to talk about deindustrialization or deglobalization. And I know that it's that's an easy thing for people to start smearing, like, oh, you're just a nationalist or you're a protectionist. No, climate change is the product of all of the emissions, the fuel and resources necessary to do business on a global level. And if we're really going to go net zero, or if we're talking about things like net zero by 2025 or 2030, there's no way we're going to have international shipping or international air transport. So these companies actually can't even do business at the level that they're doing business. And the fact that they're going to have to continue doing business in order to stay viable, they're the ones that are fighting, that are going to fight any real solutions to climate change. So, and the best way to do that, instead of just everybody going, "Oh, I hate them, they're bad," would be for somebody to really do something very, very radical, like get into office and say, "Well, this is what we're doing. Sorry, Apple, and sorry, Nestle, and sorry, DuPont, and sorry, guys, we're shutting you down. Revoking your charters. we're nationalizing your industry, and we're shutting you down. Go take your money. We're also going to retrain all your employees to do other jobs in a localized, climate change aware society." And that's that. So I wanted to cover this article from Lee Camp. Just 100 companies will sign humanity's death warrant. The companies that need to be shut down. They need to be nationalized and shut down. Only 100 companies will sign humanity's death sentence. That's it. 100 corporate boards filled with sociopaths. But I'll get back to that in a moment. In recent weeks, climate activists in New York City jammed up foot traffic on Wall Street with a die-in, covering themselves in fake blood and lying on the ground. Other activists in Washington, D.C. blocked intersections using a variety of tactics, gridlocking traffic and pissing off a lot of people. It seems clear that when it comes to our impending extinction, practically no one cares, unless it means that they have to sit in traffic for 10 extra minutes. Apparently, there is nothing that upsets Americans more than being stuck in their car, moving at a negative MPH, completely unable to get to the jobs they fucking hate. And that's why those are the types of protests that matter, the ones that interrupt the flow of capitalism. Not the colorful marches where we all show up for 2 hours while the politicians were ostensibly trying to influence go play golf. Let me read that again. All show up for 2 hours while the politicians were ostensibly trying to influence go play golf. I'm going to read that word correctly one day. I'm not saying don't get involved in the friendly marches. I'm just saying our rulers don't care that you did. It's like when you dress up your baby in a costume. I'm not saying you have to stop, but you're only doing it for yourself. The ruling elite, like your baby, doesn't actually care. But since I aim to please, here's a point for those of you who don't give a shit about the climate crisis. The corporations that are screwing up your life, tainting your water, polluting your air, buying up your favorite coffee shop and turning it into a gas station, sucking your tax dollars up through subsidies, and all the while paying their employees a warm can of farts per hour, those corporations are the same ones creating the climate catastrophe. In fact, The Guardian reported that just 100 companies are responsible for 71% of global greenhouse gas emissions. These include ExxonMobil, Saudi Aramco, Shell, Chinese and Russian coal, Chevron, BP, CNPC, ConocoPhillips, Gazprom, Lukoil, Total, Petrobras, and many others. 100 incredibly rich yet morally bankrupt companies. That's it. It gets even worse. The Carbon Majors report revealed that more than half of all industrial emissions over the past 30 years were put out by just 25 corporate and state-owned entities. 25 companies are killing us, smothering us, stealing our futures while choking us, and not the fun kind of consensual choking done in the bedroom. This is the bad kind of choking that results in drought and hurricanes and your dog stuck in a tree. Basically, a tiny number of sociopaths make the decisions that are currently dooming us all, and as much as I'd like to tell you otherwise, those people don't even notice if we all march outside in colorful hats. The marches are kind of like those rate your experience things at airports and restaurants with giant color-coded buttons that feature 4 choices ranging from a smiley face all the way down to the dreaded frowny face. I hate to get conspiratorial, but I'm 84% certain that those buttons aren't even connected to anything. The powers that be just know that you feel better if you think you gave your opinion. I actually did get a response from TSA at the airport. I was only halfway through taking a dump on the frowny face when guys with guns showed up. Point is, the only protests that create change are those that interrupt the flow of business, because those corporations will not give up easily. Too much profit rests in the balance for them to stop their prolonged execution of the human race. The Guardian article continues, fossil fuel companies risk wasting more than $2 trillion over the coming decade by pursuing coal, oil, and gas projects that could be worthless in the face of international action on climate change and advances in renewables, in turn posing substantial threats to investor returns. They have made a $2 trillion gamble that we will all keep using fossil fuels even as society collapses. So they don't just have to have a dog in the race. They have a goddamn elephant riding on top of a T-Rex riding on top of Mike Pompeo. One can argue that such an animal would not fare well in a race, but it is undeniably a significant beast to have in said contest. And I realize that for an average American, the regular person scraping by trying to get kids to eat, the dogs to poop, and grandpa to shut up for 1 second, climate change isn't his or her top concern. But the truth is, your daily troubles are connected to the same corporations that are causing the largest existential threat we fleshy apes have ever faced. The higher-ups at those organizations control our governments and therefore our day-to-day lives. As Tamara Person writes for Common Dreams, the CEOs making these calculated decisions are hubristic parasites with fallacy fetish, who treat wealth as a game, declaring themselves winners when they have more zeros than the whole countries, while treading all over our magical habitat in the race for wealth. Spoon-fed elitists who are so white and male and wealthy, they aren't touched by the problems they create. While I love Pearson's analysis, she's wrong about one thing. These parasites are not only white and male. As President Obama pointed out last year in a speech, American energy production, you wouldn't always know it, but it went up every year I was president, and you know that suddenly America's like the biggest oil producer. That was me, people. So anybody who's in the club don't necessarily have to be white. White and male. They allow all kinds of people in the club. Oprah's in the club too. Ellen DeGeneres in the club. Our former president is actually proud of the fact that he helped put the nail in our coffin. When the ruling elite don't think you're paying attention, they brag about their crimes the same way you or I might sit around privately and say, man, you wouldn't believe how much weed I smoked last night. Our powers that be sit around boasting, man, you wouldn't believe how many regulations I gutted last night. The 100 corporations actively suffocating us in a blanket of global warming emissions are the same ones that run our government. Read that again, run our government. They have wrapped their tentacles around our politicians, the regulatory agencies, and the criminal justice system. It's now one big incestuous, money-obsessed pile of X-rated nastiness, and you and I are not part of it. We are the cannon fodder, the collateral damage, the chum. Until we stop these corporations, the expiration date of the human race is set in stone. The end. I hope you all enjoyed that. Lee Camp, one of my favorite writers and pundits. He does Redacted Tonight on the RT channel. That is all I have for you today. Thank you so much for your eyes, your ears, and your conscience. If you would like to support this channel, you can do so at the links below. Until next time, peace.